One of the questions unschooling parents ask all the time is, but how do you plan anything? It makes sense. Most of us were trained to believe that planning means lesson plans and subjects and assignments. And when you remove the curriculum, it can feel like you've removed the roadmap altogether. But unschooling planning isn't about deciding what your child needs to learn next. It's about shaping a family life where curiosity has room to grow. So one of the biggest questions that parents ask as they move towards unschooling, and something that we talk about regularly in my membership community, is that if we don't use curriculum, how are we going to plan? What are we going to do? So if you're new to the Unschooling Mom2Mom podcast, welcome to our 6th season. I'm your host, Sue Patterson. I'm the real person behind all things Unschooling Mom2Mom. And I'm coming here weekly to offer you little bits of encouragement, a 10-minute pep talk, and usually a few resources to help you dive deeper, because we can't undo all of this conditioning in me chatting with you 10 minutes a week. But before we dive into today's topic, I do want to let anyone listening who is feeling really alone and isolated, I have a private membership community that you can be part of. Multiple group calls a week, a private portal filled with information that's specific to what's really bothering you, plus the new Creating Confidence Daily app, where I'm recording daily voice notes. It's guidance and reassurance, where I can help offset some of those voices in your head that are telling you you're not enough, you're not doing it right. Let me be a voice in there too. You have 2 main ways you can get support from me. One is to join that membership community, where you also get everyone else to help you brainstorm for solutions, and the daily app's included. Or you can just get the daily app. I'll leave a link in the notes for both. But this week, we're talking about planning as unschoolers. And I want to get you 3 practical tools and techniques and some explanation about why it matters and how to make it work. So we're going to start with the week ahead. Instead of planning school, look at the actual rhythm of your family's week. What's already on the schedule? What are the have-tos? Appointments, sports practice, errands, visiting friends, library day. Those things all matter, and they shape the energy of the week. Sometimes the most useful planning moment is simply standing at the calendar and saying, let's look at the week ahead. You might ask simple questions like, is this a busy week or a slow week? Are there days where we're mostly at home? Is there anything fun we want to add? This keeps planning grounded in real life, not imaginary school schedules. Because unschooling planning is mostly about gathering possibilities. Maybe you notice a new documentary that looks interesting, or a museum exhibit nearby, or a recipe someone wants to try, or a game that the kids might enjoy, or a book that connects to something they've been curious about. You don't assign these days, but you put them within reach. Some families call this strewing, others call it leaving interesting things around. And the key difference from school planning is this: you're not planning what must happen. You're preparing for what could happen. Another overlooked part of unschooling planning is relationship time. You might think about watching a show together, cooking together, driving somewhere interesting, starting a conversation about something you noticed. These small moments often become the doorway to learning, or at least the doorway to the parents knowing more about how the child is thinking and viewing various situations. Kids ask questions when they feel relaxed and connected, not when they feel managed. And a lot of times, a lot of parents who used to homeschool in more traditional ways tell me they miss the time they spent doing lessons together. They remember that kitchen table time as connection. But if we're honest, the kids probably didn't experience it in the same way. For many of them, it was simply the thing they had to get through before they could go do what they actually wanted to do. So when families move toward unschooling and that side-by-side lesson time disappears, it can feel like something important was lost. But what's really happening is that old routine that looked like connection is gone. Real connection usually feels different. It's the difference between doing something that you both enjoy and someone tolerating the lesson plan because they really have no choice. When we're not relying on school routines anymore, we have to become a little more creative and intentional about noticing those moments that actually feel good for everybody. That's where real connection starts to show up. So every family has different seasons. Some weeks can feel expansive, lots of energy, new projects, new places. Other weeks can feel quieter. Everyone is tired. People want more downtime. The house feels like the right place to stay. Sometimes when you're standing in front of your calendar, you can notice that you need to sprinkle in a couple more stay-at-home days after a few busy ones, or vice versa. It's a rhythm that may vary within the week, and it certainly varies with what the family members need. Planning and unschooling often means respecting those shifts instead of pushing through them. So a simple weekly review can help you plan naturally. Ask yourself, what sparked curiosity this week? What did the kids spend most of their time doing? Did anything feel rushed or stressful? It isn't about evaluating. It's about noticing patterns so you can support what's already unfolding. Planning as an unschooling parent isn't about controlling learning. It's about removing friction, making it easier for curiosity to show up, making it easier for conversations to happen, or for interesting things to cross your family's path. When you do that consistently, learning starts to happen everywhere. And eventually you realize something important. You're not planning school. You're building a life where learning naturally fits. So I told you I had 3 tools for you, and I do. The first one we're going to call the look at the week conversation. This is the simplest tool and often the most useful. Instead of creating a schedule, you just look at the week ahead together. Stand near the calendar and notice what's already there. It's probably not going to work if you have it only on your phone, which is why I always recommend in the membership group for people to get one of those big whiteboard calendars. Think of it as the big control center of what all is happening in our world that anybody can look at whenever they happen to be ready to consider what's been happening, what happened last week, what's happening this week. It really helped me when my daughter was growing up and she's like, how come I haven't had so-and-so spend the night in a long time? Then we would walk over to the calendar and we would see all of these sleepovers with other people. And we're like, well, where are we going to fit her? And she learned how to be accurate in what she was assessing, thinking she wasn't getting something. She could look at the calendar herself and see, oh, I am. Before she spiraled into some idea that she wasn't getting something she wanted or needed. So that can happen in any kind of scenario where a kid starts to think that we never, whatever. How come we never, whatever it is? You can look at the calendar and say, oh, you're right. We haven't in a long time. Or you can look at the calendar and say, except we just did last weekend. We've just fit a lot in between then and now, and you've forgotten. And you don't even have to say all of those things. So there's no power struggle, right? So they can just look at the calendar before they even bring it up. You just have to encourage that kind of behavior of let's look at the calendar. So if you're standing there and you're looking at the week ahead, 1 week at a time, you could say, let's look what we have. We have dance class, we have sports practice, here's a dentist appointment or some other appointment. We're trying to get to the library so our books aren't overdue. That's happening on this day. Visiting friends, running some errands. We're going to run out of groceries, so we've got to do this. And then you might even be able to say, looks like Tuesday is really busy, or maybe Monday is a good stay-at-home day. Let's call it Minecraft Day. So you're on board with helping them get what they want out of the week too. Or we're already going near the library on Wednesday, so want to stop in there? And they're part of this planning. And they might shrug, but you're helping them develop some executive function skills about how do you plan realistically for the week. Remembering how old they are in their own maturity level, their interest is going to be really small. But if they're getting something they want out of it, then they'll be into it. And also, this kind of planning helps kids begin to think about their time without feeling managed. It helps everyone see how learning fits naturally into life. Okay, the second technique I have for you, I call the idea parking lot. Unschooling parents collect ideas all the time. Things you notice during the week, a documentary someone mentioned, museum exhibits, cool places to go in your community that are only happening this week. Some more possibilities are a local event or a festival that's coming this week, a kit or a craft project you spotted, a park or a trail or a place in town you haven't explored yet, maybe a weird historical story you ran across, or a YouTube channel that somebody recommended, maybe a podcast or a show that you heard about that seems like something your teen would be interested in. So instead of assigning these things or interrupting them and saying, hey, come look at this real fast, which you're going to do, but you don't have to do it all the time, keep a place where these ideas live. So some families use a whiteboard or a shared note that they have on their phone or a sticky note wall or a page in a notebook that they can look at the end of the day and see if anybody added anything or any time during the day. Kids can glance at it when they're bored or they're curious. Nothing is required. It's simply a menu of possibilities. The third suggestion I have for you is the weekly Just Data review. This one helps parents avoid falling into the "are we doing enough" spiral. Once a week, take a minute to look back. Ask yourself, what were they curious about? What did they spend a lot of time doing? How did the week feel overall? Maybe you realize that afternoons work better for outings, or mornings are better for quiet time, or the kids are really deep into a particular interest. So then all of these observations naturally shape how the week unfolded. So you're not making big decisions about what you see. You're simply taking the time to notice patterns. This will help you when you think about planning your next week. So over time, unschooling planning becomes less about creating structure and more about noticing those patterns. You begin to see where curiosity is showing up, or what environments help your child thrive, or what rhythms make your week feel smoother, or what your energy level can handle. Instead of pushing learning, you start supporting the learning that's already happening. And that's when planning starts to feel less like work and more like paying attention. So it's just a different kind of planning. You're not mapping everything out for your child to learn. It means paying attention to your child and to the rhythm of your family. And that may change week by week, which is why it's important to look. The weather could completely change something that's going to happen or not happen in your week. Some weeks are going to be full, some weeks are going to feel slower, and all of that is normal. We get so used to that school schedule of everything being exactly the same that we think that's normal, but that is not normal. Normal life is ebbs and flows, high energy and low energy. And so over time, you begin to notice something surprising, that learning doesn't need nearly as much management as we were taught. When kids live in an environment filled with conversation, interesting ideas, real-world experiences, and supportive adults, learning shows up everywhere. So eventually, the question shifts from how do I plan school to something much simpler. What kind of life do we want to build together this week? Well, I hope this helps you if you've been worried about planning. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Join us in the Creating Confidence group. Enjoy the kids and happy unschooling.